Something I've realized that, well, I've realized as time has gone on, is that you always want what you can't have. You always take for granted what you do have. You never realize what you've had until it's gone. And you'll always wonder what the other decision would be. So let's get the obvious ones out of the way. You always want what you can't have. Right. What else did I say? Yeah, let me talk about, you'll always take for granted what you do have, and you'll never realize what you have until it's gone. So those things are pretty much one and the same. So we can just call that one point. You never realize what you have until it's gone. And what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I'm sorry. My brain has not been working as well. I've been fasting a bit, and it's been making my brain kind of wonky. All right, anyways, what I was trying to say was, all right, well, this is me being real, showing you how stupid I am. This is crazy. I actually... This is what happens when you don't eat for like 20 hours. Oh my God. I'm sorry, guys. All right, just bear with me. What was I? Okay. Yes, you'll always take for granted what you do have. Okay, I'll speed up, guys. I'm sorry. Holy crap. Okay. So yes, what you have, you'll take for granted because you don't realize that how great it is. You know? You'll take it for granted. That person that you take for granted, if you were to lose them tomorrow, all of a sudden you'd think, I was so stupid. That person was amazing and treated me so kindly and was almost everything I wanted. And yet I focused on just the 5%. I focused on the 5% I didn't have instead of the 95% that that person was. So people sometimes get caught up on the wrong thing. You know, in a relationship, they focus on that 5% that bothers them, and they don't realize that 95% or more, depending, is exactly what they need. And they also don't realize that there are other dating options, or that the average person they would find to date would be like 50 or 60%. So when it comes to people, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. The most important thing about a relationship, in my opinion, in any form of the word relationship, is having the same values. If you have the same values, then, you know, ultimately it doesn't matter that much what the rest of your differences are, because you guys will probably get along very well. Why does my gas station only have vitamin water and 0 calorie? Why does my gas station only have one flavor of 0 calorie vitamin water? I don't understand it. What else was I going to talk about? What I mean by don't throw the baby out with the bathwater is, if somebody is mostly what you need, you shouldn't throw all of them away just because a couple things aren't perfectly aligned. For example, I wanted to move to Mexico someday and be a digital nomad, or somewhere in the Caribbean, or somewhere in like Asia that had some beautiful water and stuff. But then I thought, how feasible would it be for me to actually travel across the world and actually see my family, Like, would I really see my family if I lived over in Bali, Indonesia? I used to spearfish in Mexico, and I really loved it. And like, that's low-key what I wanted to do, Just like go spearfishing with my life and find some type of way to make remote income. I don't know, why I wanted to do that so bad, but I was dead set on it. And it makes sense. That's the dream life. I mean, I still could, I guess. I don't know. But the point is, I was so dead set on, living in the perfect spearfishing conditions. The best in the world. I was like, I gotta go to the best place in the world so I can spear a tuna every day. And it's like, you don't have to actually always choose the best thing, because what you'll come to learn, and what I had to learn the hard way, is that when you only focus on one metric, and making sure that one is perfect and that one is the best, you are not getting the best overall package statistically. It's not statistically likely to get the best overall package because you're only focusing on one thing. You need to focus on a variety of factors, make a couple of concessions, and not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Here's another example, and I'll get back to my spearfishing example. By the way, kids these days, they I feel so old saying that, but they buy electric scooters and they go everywhere. Like, they don't even need a car. They just probably drive those things got 30 miles of range, man. I wish I had one of those growing up, for real. So anyways, my example is that, when I was buying a computer in college, I was only focusing on the fact that I wanted the best display, the laptop with the best display, because I was a video editor at the time, and I also did video production. And I wanted a display that was better than full Adobe RGB color gamut, which is pretty high up there. It's better than Sony RGB, and it's actually better than, it's a higher color gamut than Apple. Here's what I didn't consider though. The problem was my computer would overheat because the computer chip was too good. Most importantly, my battery was completely useless. Okay, even with the brand new battery, it still only gets about 3 hours on a charge. And that's brand new. So it ended up not being a useful laptop, because anywhere I would go, I really would just have to set up a little desktop because I would have to plug it in. So I'd have to make sure that I was finding an outlet. And I mean, it was really just like a mobile desktop, if you think about it. And also wouldn't reach its full power and speed unless it was plugged in. Thanks to ARM processors, that has changed, but the other thing was, and I didn't think about this, was that by getting the best color display on the market, it ended up not really mattering, because most people's phones that they were going to view the original video on, and most social media platforms didn't support that amount of color anyways. And I didn't realize that everybody would have had to have the same quality display to to see what I edited. Like, it didn't make any sense anyways. Like, from my point of view, it looked great because my screen was awesome and all the colors would be absolutely immaculate. But then I'd export it and put it on my phone. My phone wouldn't look as good. And I'd be like, what the heck is this? I didn't even edit it like this, and it still looks like this. What I later realized was a MacBook is better off for me because overall, all in all, it's well-rounded. Like, especially after the M1 came out, you know, the ARM processor allows it to be extremely good on battery and extremely high powered, or at least powerful. You know, the display is not super high resolution. It's not 4K, so it's not going to kill your battery. The color gamut is the same about on a MacBook as an iPhone. About half the world uses an iPhone, so when they're watching the video that you edited, if you actually think about it, they're going to be happier seeing that result, and it's going to look more impressive because although it might have been better on your fancy display, nobody else had it, so you were actually editing on a MacBook in a way that somebody on an iPhone will see exactly the same. So none of this I realized, and then the other thing was I do like the seamless integration with my iPhone. I was never a Apple fanboy. I recently converted. I do like MacBooks now. Although there are certain things that I still have a old Windows laptop because there are certain things that I can't do with my MacBook, you know. That's the best of both worlds. If anyone is thinking about it, use your MacBook as like an emails, creative, neat place to get work done, especially with that battery life. And then when you got to do some really, you know, serious roll up your sleeves, get dirty in the code and the software, IT, you know, whatever it is, then go on your old trusty MacBook, you know, like a Mac or your old Windows laptop. Like a MacBook is kind of like the Corvette you take out at nighttime or during summer to go have fun, and then the Windows laptop is kind of like that thing you want to do. It's kind of like that old 4x4 you take out to go drive around the mud or get some work done. Both can get work done just in different ways. So anyways, my whole point of saying all of this is that don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, okay? If you're making a decision will have many intricate parts, and if you don't get everything to go your way in your decision, it's not as bad as you think, because no decision will get everything to go your way. And if you think that everything is going to go your way, I have an unfortunate news flash, and that is that you are probably not thinking of certain things that will not be perfect. So if you think your decision is perfect, you're probably missing some other factors in that decision that are not going to be perfect that you might figure out later. For example, yes, I want to be a digital nomad, and yes, I wanted to, you know, but I wanted to go live in some country, right? But a lot of people don't think about, you know, if I raise my children here, what type of opportunity will they have here? If, you know, what type of school will they go to? Wouldn't it be better if they went to an American school? You know, what about the opportunity cost of if I could grind in America and start a business? You know, I don't know. They're different things, you know, and of course there's infrastructure. Believe it or not, America does have good infrastructure, despite what people want to say. A lot of things we take for granted are not going to be in those countries. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Think about everything, you know. What I ended up deciding was that I want to see my family often, or at least more often than if I lived on the other side of the godforsaken world. Well, the world isn't godforsaken. Anyways, So I realized that if I move to like somewhere like Florida, then I can get the best of, I'm not throwing out the baby with the bathwater, right? I'm not just choosing one thing because I need that to be perfect. I don't need spearfishing to be perfect. At the end of the day, it's not going to help me that much if I live in the best place for spearfishing, unless that's my whole life, right? You don't need to focus on just one thing when you're making a decision. Focus on a lot of things. Focus on that battery life of the MacBook, the stuff that you don't want to think about but is actually important. Get a well-rounded decision, and you'll actually end up being a lot more happy with it than if you just only focused on one thing and you forsake all the other things just to get that one thing. You're going to end up being like annoyed at yourself. So that's what I got to say. I want to talk about the phenomenon of how all decisions that are morally congruent will cause you to have the same amount of regret. And people will always wonder what the other decision would be. But that will have to be for a future video because I'm probably going to run out of storage space right now. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy listening to me. Thanks. Bye.